I'm wearing my I Super Believe in You Tad Cooper shirt because I super believe in you, Tad Cooper, and I'm here to talk about my latest 5-star read in a book that just made my heart so happy, and that is The Prince and the Dressmaker. It is a graphic novel that I picked up from the library. I can't remember where I first saw it. It might have just been on Goodreads, a Goodreads suggestion, but oh my goodness, this book made me feel my own feelings, and how dare it. This is the very simple story of a seamstress who gets summoned to the palace to make dresses in secret for the crown prince because he likes to dress in feminine clothes sometimes. And I'm going to use the pronouns he, him because the prince does use those pronouns. So it's not that the prince necessarily is trans, but does just like to be femme or masculine depending on his mood and how taboo that is in their society and how his family doesn't understand him and he's being expected to get married and these girls won't understand him and his relationship with his dressmaker. And this is just the sweetest, most wholesome book I have read in such a long time. I love the art style. This art style is totally my jam. And there is a lot of dialogue, but it's minimal. This author did a really good job of keeping blocks of text away from this book. I love this theme of hiding who you are versus flaunting who you are, because the prince and the dressmaker kind of have opposite lives. The prince wants to keep parts of his life a big secret, while the dressmaker wants to become famous, wants to be known, wants to have her dresses out there. And just sort of how both of them come into their own within this story, and the mistakes they make, the things that happen, the prince dealing with his family. It's so good. The ending had me cheering. I had a huge, stupid smile on my face the entire ending of this book. So if you are looking for something that will just make your heart happy, I really recommend The Prince and the Dressmaker. There's not too much I can say about it because it is a very simple story, but it is so sweet and so charming. Some people might find this story too simple and wish that there was more to it, but for me, it was perfect. I read it in 2 sittings. I would have read it in 1, but I needed to go to sleep that first night that I was reading it. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, and I was halfway through, and I'm okay, I need to stop because I have to work in the morning. But I finished it last night, and I just have to gush because this is so beautiful. And I got it from the library, but I think I want to own it. I want to buy it. Maybe put it on my Christmas list or something because damn, I just love this. It is so sweet and charming. I wish I had more so I could please the YouTube algorithm with a lengthier video, but yeah, there's not much more to say. It's beautiful. I loved it.
Alright, so this review was a bit impromptu. I realized when I got to the end of editing the Prince and the Dressmaker video how ridiculously short it was, and I was no one's going to watch a video this short. They're going to be that's too short and not watch it. So I decided to throw in a second review of another graphic novel. By the way, if you hear noises in the background, Nigel is here. I couldn't bring myself to shoo him away, so he's going to be here making noise. So the other graphic novel that I recently read was Pumpkinheads. The author of it is Rainbow Rowell, and the illustrator's name will also appear on the screen because I'm terrible and I'm just recording this. Very impromptu. I was kind of excited for this one because I do enjoy Rainbow Rowell's books, and I was excited to see a graphic novel from her. I was let's see what she can do. I bet it's going to be quirky and different. And unfortunately, it really disappointed me. This is the story of 2 friends who work at a place called the Pumpkin Patch. It's one of those fall-themed places where you can go every fall to pick pumpkins and apples, go on hay rides, and get a shit ton of autumny food. And these 2 friends work there every year during high school, but they are going to be graduating and going their separate ways probably, and this is their last year working at the Pumpkin Patch. If you hear other noises in the background, also there are ferrets in this room now. This is the way we live, surrounded by critters. So the story itself is incredibly simple, and I was a little disappointed because I might not love all of Rainbow's books, but I always loved her characters because they are multi-dimensional, and these ones just kind of fell flat for me. I feel like this book actually should be a short story and just have stayed a short story. But I feel that perhaps Rainbow thought it was too plain to just publish as a short story, and so got it illustrated. But honestly, it's so simple and so quick, and I don't really understand why it is a graphic novel. The main thread that runs through this entire book is that the one friend is trying to help the other talk to a girl that he's had a crush on this entire time. And I am sure that you can figure out how this is going to end. Like, think for 2 seconds and you know how it's going to end. And if you're in the mood for something that predictable and sweet and a bit saccharine, then this might be the book for you. I expect more from Rainbow Rowell and her books and her relationships. I know this is a graphic novel and it's a bit different, but yeah, I expect a bit more complexity. So that was disappointing. Also, honestly, the illustrations didn't do very much for me either. They're sweet, they're charming, but they're very plain sometimes. And while there is a great atmosphere when you do get to see the pumpkin patch, so many of the panels have just a color graded background and that's it. It's so simple and kind of honestly gets boring to look at because these people, even though they're moving around within this place, the pumpkin patch, don't ever leave the pumpkin patch. Everything does stay kind of the same, with the same colors and the same mood. And even though I read this in essentially one sitting, I was already bored. And that's probably going to get me some hate, but I don't know. While I found The Prince and The Dressmaker to be very charming, even though it could be fairly predictable, this book just struck me as meh. Also, I have a goat-related gripe, and you all know I do, because I used to raise dairy goats. This isn't too much of a spoiler, because it's not really part of the main story at all, but at one point, a billy goat escapes, and he kind of appears at random points throughout the story as sort of like a very weird subplot. But here's the thing. They would never have an intact male goat around people. Not because intact male goats are mean. In fact, most of the ones I've known were absolute sweethearts. But because buck goats are smelly as fuck. They have an odor meant to attract female goats that is incredibly bad, and you can smell it for quite a distance from them, and it stays on your clothes, and this attraction would never ever in a million years have an intact male goat like Billy, I believe, is meant to be around people. Now, of course, I would never hold it against the book not to know that, but it's just something that I noticed. And you know me, I always have to point out when animal inaccuracies are happening. So overall, of the two, obviously I prefer The Prince and The Dressmaker, and Pumpkinheads was a real disappointment for me. Oh my gosh, Nigel, you are not being very helpful. I didn't feel really anything for these characters. So that's my, I guess, probably fairly disappointing review of Pumpkinheads. But what do you guys think? Did you read either of these books and did you enjoy them? Comment below and let me know. Now I'll get back to regular Julian for your outro.
If you liked what you saw here, I have lots of other videos for you to check out, lots of other book reviews that have more to say in them than this. Don't forget that you can support me on Patreon, where all your donations go towards getting me better equipment, plus you get all kinds of little videos that are not seen here on the regular channel, so that's fun. I post new videos twice a week, Mondays and Fridays. YouTube will try to hide them from you because I'm small. So just remember to keep an eye out Mondays and Fridays, and check out my social media linked in the doobly-doo to also keep up with my videos more effectively. And I will see you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!
Hello, again. It's time for the shout out. It's time to shout out my patrons, Lennox, Amanda, Irene, Jenny, Joseph, Kim, Lisa, Sabby Panda, Sam, Sarah, Savvy, and Scribbling Cat. As usual, I am still astounded that I have so many amazing patrons supporting me. You guys are the best.